It's Wednesday, May 6th, and this is now on HNN.
I would put a little more trust in our people than what the mayor said.
A communication fumble leads to confusion over when retailers can reopen statewide.
We're going to try to move them through quickly.
Long lines form at Aloha Stadium hours before another free food distribution.
I'm Natalie Brand with why the president says he's now reversing course on a decision to wind down the coronavirus task force.
We'll be adding some people to the task force.
More and more states are beginning to reopen. I'm Michael George with the protests and the debate over safety as the number of coronavirus cases nationwide continues to rise.
Is it even safe to fly?
Yes.
These stories, plus airlines are looking at the future of flying as they struggle to make money. Coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for watching This Is Now. I'm Jonathan, your director-producer, alongside Ashley here. And we want to get you started like we have been doing with the latest numbers from the Department of Health.
Hey everyone, health officials are reporting just one new COVID-19 case today. A patient on Oahu, bringing the statewide total to 626. Hawaii's death toll stands at 17, and so far, close to 90% of patients have been released from isolation.
All right, keep hoping for more low count days like that. Hopefully soon we'll be reporting none. All right, we're going to talk about those food lines we keep seeing pop up. There was another one this morning outside Aloha Stadium. Cars lined up very early. Casey Lund was there and filed this report.
These have turned into massive operations. Armies of volunteers gathering, sorting, and distributing fresh produce, shelf-stable food items, and fresh meat. 80,000 pounds at this distribution alone to more than 4,000 families in need.
Okay, have a nice day.
We don't want to do this. This is our first time. I mean, last week we were doing the one in Waipahu, but we didn't get anything.
Sally Anderson and her husband are retired, but their modest retirement and Social Security doesn't completely cover life in Hawaii. For several years, Sally has been cleaning homes to supplement their income.
Because of the coronavirus, my job has stopped, right?
Carload after carload, thousands of families sharing similar stories.
It's very hard for us, because we have people at home also, our kids, they don't have a job. So we're trying to help them too, and we're the older ones, we're the 65 and above.
Isabella and her husband are also retired, but their adult children are out of work and need help from mom and dad.
We've been using our small retirement to help them too, in any way that we can.
This food distribution was a partnership between the Hawaii Food Bank, the Hawaii Community Foundation, and the City and County of Honolulu, along with many other community partners.
We have over 200 volunteers that are out here. We have social service organizations. We're trying to capture some census information as well as people are coming in. So we're trying to just layer over as much services in addition to the food that we're going to provide today to the families.
The need is so great that the food bank simply can't wait to restock their shelves with product from the mainland. While Hawaii produce and Hawaii-raised beef is a little more expensive, there is a huge benefit when providing local people with local food. These efforts are keeping Hawaii's ranchers and growers in business after a big fallout from the restaurant industry.
4,000 pineapples, 4,000 papayas, 4,000 heads of cabbage, and 8,000 tomatoes, all locally grown, all here from Hawaii.
As the state continues to struggle processing unemployment claims and more than a third of Hawaii's labor force is out of work, the food bank is here, and these people are grateful.
Just something we've never seen before, and I hope it doesn't happen again.
Supplies at these distributions go extremely quickly, and if you weren't able to make it to this one today, the next opportunity is at Leeward Community College on Friday at 10 a.m. I'm Casey Lund for Hawaii News Now.
All right, thank you, Casey, for that report. Well, things certainly did get confusing yesterday because the governor, after saying retail stores could reopen on Thursday, he's now saying it's up to the counties to decide on their own when businesses can actually open their doors. So, I don't know, it developed throughout the day. There was a press conference first with Governor Ige, and then Mayor Caldwell came out shortly after and was obviously frustrating. Let's take a look. On Oahu, it's next Friday, May 15th. That's the day Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell had been pushing for. Ige's emergency proclamation was released late last night. It still says May 7th, but there is a small mention of the May 15th reopening date for Oahu. And an email from a city spokesperson confirmed that date to us. Here's Governor Ige at his news conference yesterday before the proclamation was released.
Retail businesses and services, including apparel and electronics, shopping malls, and wholesale and warehousing operations. These entities may reopen effective May 7th at 12:01 a.m.
Again, we now know that was a mistake. But before he knew that businesses are actually restarting on May 15th, Mayor Kirk Caldwell's frustration was clear.
Are you worried that people will rush out to go shopping and make it difficult to keep stores, their employees, and their customers safe?
Yes.
I find that a kind of a curious comment from the mayor. He shouldn't be criticizing the governor like this when he left large loopholes to get people into work right out of the gate.
Lieutenant Governor Josh Green says the state meets all the criteria to safely reopen.
Would put a little more trust in our people than what the mayor said. I trust the governor has assessed this.
By the time the proclamation came out, Oahu shopping malls and retailers were rushing to get ready.
May 7th, bring it on. We'll see what happens. I hope we can open then.
Dine-in portions of restaurants will also have to wait a little longer. Governor Ige says he's still looking at recommendations and guidance from the national and local restaurant associations on how to reopen eating areas safely. And beaches are still closed for congregating, so that means no one can sit or lie down on the sand. You can, however, continue to run and jog or exercise. Swimming and surfing, they're still okay.
Meanwhile, there's no reopening date for stores in Maui County, and there were no specifics for retailers in Kauai and Hawaii counties. So at this point, retailers there will be allowed to reopen tomorrow. All businesses will have to follow social distancing requirements. That means keeping customers and employees 6 feet apart, wearing masks at all times, putting up signs, and reducing the number of people inside stores. Fitting rooms must be closed, and high-touch areas need to be frequently disinfected. Stores will also have to make hand sanitizer readily available. Retailers are encouraged to have customers order online or by phone and have customers pick up their products outside facilities if possible. There will be no congregating in malls or common areas. Arcades and game rooms will not be allowed to reopen, and the same goes for food courts, which will be limited to takeout or delivery only. Meanwhile, across the country, coronavirus cases continue to rise, most notably in rural communities. 43 states have now partially lifted restrictions, and protesters in other areas are also demanding to reopen. Michael George has the latest from New York.
Protesters in the nation's capital and elsewhere are demanding their states reopen, even as cases of coronavirus rise across the country, especially in rural areas.
The government is picking winners and losers. They're picking the big business over the small businesses.
The demonstrations come as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signaled southern parts of the state could reopen soon.
We want to be safe about it, we want to be smart, and it is going to be a step-by-step process. It's not just flipping a switch.
Frontline workers in Texas, Kansas, and Massachusetts were saluted with flyovers as the governor of hard-hit Massachusetts ordered residents to wear face coverings in public.
It's possible for someone to carry the virus, to be infected, and to infect others without knowing that they are actually infected with COVID-19 themselves.
Here in New York, hospitalizations have been down for roughly a month, but strict social distancing guidelines remain in effect, and signs of what the virus has already done are everywhere.
We have turned the corner.
In the last 24 hours, at least 232 New Yorkers died of the coronavirus, and Governor Andrew Cuomo says the decline in hospitalizations has been painfully slow.
With everything we've done, we still have 600 new cases yesterday, either walking in the door to hospitals or people who are in hospitals who were then diagnosed with COVID.
New York City shut down its subway system for the first time in history overnight for cleaning, forcing the homeless into shelters.
139 individuals agreed to accept support, accept services, and come in off the streets.
More COVID survivors continue to be released from hospitals in New York. including this 60-year-old man who received plasma to treat the virus and recovered. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Uber is laying off thousands of employees. The company said today it's cutting about nearly 4,000 full-time roles, about 14% of its staff. Uber's customer support and recruiting teams will be affected. The layoffs are in response to the reduced volume of ride requests and the company's hiring freeze. Uber CEO said he will waive his base salary for the rest of the year. And last week, rival Lyft said it would be cutting 1,000 staffers and furloughing hundreds more as it also grapples with the impact of the ongoing pandemic.
All right, airlines are looking to the future of flying as they struggle to make money. United plans to cut 30% of its management staff, and Southwest, which has never furloughed employees or declared bankruptcy, now says 80% of its seats are empty. Chris Van Cleve has this story.
Is it even safe to fly?
Yes.
Southwest Airlines CEO Gary Kelly is fighting to save the jobs of more than 60,000 employees. To do it, he'll need Americans to believe it is safe to fly during the coronavirus pandemic.
We're urging the TSA to begin temperature scans as part of the screening process at the checkpoints.
By Monday, virtually all U.S. airlines will require passengers and crew to wear masks. How do you enforce mask wearing on a plane?
If we can tell people in advance that they should expect that we're requiring them to wear a mask, then I think the vast majority of people understand why and will absolutely comply. We don't want to be the police.
Airlines are adding plexiglass at check-in and ticket counters. You'll see them at TSA checkpoints as well. Carriers are continuing to enhance cleaning on both planes and at airports. Southwest is using electrostatic foggers to disinfect planes. They can kill bacteria and virus on surfaces for up to 30 days. And Kelly says their aircraft utilize hospital-grade air filters. The airplane can be hospital-grade cleaned until you put people on it who may or may not be healthy, and that's where the risk comes in, right?
It is, and that's why I think leading up to that, wash your hands, don't come to the airport if you're sick, let's do temperature screening. Ultimately, obviously, the solution is to have testing, therapeutics, a vaccine.
Is social distancing even possible on an airplane?
Well, I think that's why the multi-layered approach is important. We'll have wipes on the airplane that each customer can take. Requiring masks on the airplane are important because you won't necessarily all be 6 feet apart.
Would removing the middle seat make a difference?
We're not going to block the seat, we're not going to take the seats out, but we won't book the number of passengers that would demand that we use the middle seats.
Southwest has grounded about 400 planes and cut capacity by up to 70% as passenger traffic plummeted. But Kelly sees this as temporary.
I do think that things will get back to normal, but not until we defeat this pandemic.
Kelly says it could take up to 5 years for business travel to get back to its 2019 level. I asked him if he would be surprised to see a U.S. carrier go out of business during this downturn. He said some failures may be inevitable, but his focus was on saving Southwest, and it's something he thinks he can do without further government aid. Of course, there remains a lot of uncertainty about how long this all lasts. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Reagan National Airport, Virginia.
Check this out. A Las Vegas signage company called Screaming Images is making something different in light of the pandemic. Workers are making custom gaming barriers that can be installed at tables and slot machines in casinos. The company's owner says the invention could help the gaming industry following the pandemic.
The public's perception of feeling safe, I think, is the biggest thing. You know, they're not going to go out if they don't feel safe.
Meantime, Nevada's Gaming Control Board has released its list of policies for when gaming venues are allowed to reopen. Rules include a 50% occupancy limit for each gaming area and regularly disinfecting cards and chips. Gaming venues are closed through at least May 15th, and clubs will remain closed until further notice.
All right, today President Trump is pushing back at notions that the coronavirus task force is winding down. Skylar Henry is in the White House and filed this.
President Trump honored a key group of frontline health workers, signing a National Nurses Day proclamation.
America's nurses are waging a heroic war against the invisible enemy.
The president also addressed his decision to reverse course on winding down his coronavirus task force, instead announcing he'll be bringing in additional people.
We'll be adding some people to the task force, and there'll be more in the neighborhood probably of opening our country up.
Meanwhile, federal vaccine expert Dr. Rick Bright has filed an extensive whistleblower complaint, claiming he tried to raise alarms about the pandemic back in January and was ignored. Bright also says he was demoted after he resisted pressure to widely promote hydroxychloroquine, the anti-malaria drug that President Trump has touted as a treatment for COVID-19. Bright is scheduled to testify next week in front of a House panel. Wednesday, a House committee held a hearing on the federal coronavirus response. Both Democratic and Republican members expressed a desire to hear from Dr. Anthony Fauci, but the White House blocked him from testifying in the House.
I think it would have been good testimony, useful to this committee. I think useful to this country.
Former CDC director for the Obama administration, Dr. Tom Frieden, was among those who testified and issued this warning.
Until we have an effective vaccine, and unless something very unexpected happens, our viral enemy will be with us for many months and possibly many years.
Meanwhile, airline experts faced a Senate panel as the industry is reportedly losing $10 billion a month.
Passenger volumes declined to levels that we have not seen since the 1950s. It's remarkable, it's almost surreal, and it is painful.
The Trump administration and several major U.S. air carriers reached a deal last month on a $25 billion bailout package. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
All right, we're hearing from the First Lady again today. She posted a video on Twitter giving her appreciation for nurses. Let's play that out.
As we honor and celebrate National Nurses Day, I would like to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to the nurses across America. In addition to the work you do each day, you have gone above and beyond your call of duty in responding to our nation's invisible enemy, COVID-19. You have devoted your lives to help protect the health and well-being of the American people. And through these times of uncertainty, we have shown immense courage and selflessness. You are an inspiration to us all, and your actions show us the true power of the American spirit. Thank you for your care and compassion. Our nation will continue to pray for your safety and strength. May God bless you and your families, and may God bless the United States of America.
First Lady there speaking on Twitter video for National Nurses Day. Glad she did that. That's not the first time she came out with a PSA during this pandemic. She did a social distancing one a couple weeks ago, I believe.
The face mask one?
Yeah, she wore the face mask.
That's right.
Very cool.
So back here at home, this pandemic has been a unique challenge for our local farmers because unlike, hurricanes or floods, their crops continue to grow, but the venues that they would sell their products at, like farmers markets or restaurants, have been shut down. So in today's Checking In segment, we're hearing from a fifth-generation taro farmer about how she's handling these impacts. Today we are going to hele on to Kauai and check in with Lindsay Haraguchi Nakayama of Hanalei Taro. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
So how has your business been affected by the pandemic? I know farmers especially have been impacted. How have you adjusted your business?
So we closed down our, temporarily shut down our nonprofit education programs, the school field trips, and eco tours just for safety. The farmers markets were closing here, and then our food truck, we pivoted to more takeout, not sit down, food deliveries, right? No contact food deliveries and takeout, and still getting calls asking if people can get koi, loud, things like that.
You guys seen like a drop in sales, or I don't know if some of the people who buy your product, have they been canceling orders because of what's going on?
We did have to pivot to more online sales, and that was a way that we found would be helpful to the community to help kupuna, keiki families to be able to get farm fresh food delivered to their door. Not only on the island of Kauai here, but also to inner island like Oahu, right, across the state, and then also across the U.S. mainland. So we found that not only are families ordering for themselves, but they're also ordering it as gifts. So a lot of people are buying gifts for family and friends that are on the mainland and they are not able to come back home, but to be able to share a little bit of home with them.
And just because the pandemic's happening, that doesn't mean the kalo stops growing. So what are you guys doing on the farm?
Grandpa, 98 years young, on the tractor back there. Everybody's, working on different areas of the farm. Our kids are doing school from home. And it's great having them home more because they're also able to help out more, right, on a family farm. So it's good. It's teaching them about community service. And while we're doing food donations, we're thankful to be able to work with Hawaii Farm Bureau and Hawaii Food Bank and Feeding America, or no matter where they are.
Right. And Kauai has been very strict as far as emergency orders. You guys have a curfew. What has that been like? Are people following it there?
There's periodic checkpoints for farming. Farming has been deemed as part of essential services, as part of food security and sustainability. So we do have food deliveries and going from one area to the farm to the next. And there has been checkpoints along the road. It's good because, I think they're checking to make sure everybody abides by the quarantine and things too. Recently, in the past couple weeks, it's mainly been by the airport, the checkpoints. So I think it's good that, they're helping the community try to maintain and, flatten the curve.
For people who don't know about Hanalei Taro, your property is one of the most picturesque locations on the island, I think. And you guys have had problems with trespassers in the past. Have you guys been dealing with a lot of trespassers since the pandemic has been going on?
We'd like to say there has been no trespassers, but there still has been a few. I think it's somewhat of an ongoing challenge. Most people are very respectful, and I think, it's great to have people aware of some of the problems, and also to be able, what are some of the different ways people can support farmers, so that generational family farmers can be able to continue to farm for the community and for Hawaii, especially in times of need.
Yeah, and you guys are right next to Hanalei town. Is the town empty right now, or do you still see visitors walking around with the quarantine in effect?
It's pretty empty. It looks like a ghost town. I go through the town about once or twice a week to check mail at the post office, but it's been very quiet.
Hanalei Taro also has a nonprofit side of the business, a museum, right? And you guys are working on something?
Yeah, so for our nonprofit museum, now this is on the National Historic Register, and we would love to hear thoughts from the community on their pandemic experience. We do have an online form. People can go to our website online, fill it out, and their pandemic stories and points of view will be included on a possible future nonprofit museum exhibit.
Very cool. All right, Lindsay, thank you so much for checking in with
so
us.
Much.
Be safe.
Take care. Good to see you.
Bye. Now, their farm is a national wildlife refuge for endangered water birds, which is why trespassing is such an issue. So it's protected under the federal government.
Good to check in with our farmers, too. All right, time to get to the positive news of the day. We're talking about some good medicine, folks.
So while the UFC gym in Waikele waits to reopen, the personal trainers and fitness coaches have been delivering meals and food to healthcare workers in a campaign they call Feed Our Fighters.
As coaches, as working in the fitness industry, is something kind of an inherent nature for us to want to give and keep on doing for others.
As a personal trainer, we don't really have a lot of time on our hands normally, so now we get to do all the stuff that we want to do to help the community.
The effort is also putting money into struggling eateries. Look for the link to donate at hawaiinewsnow.com.
All right, I've been waiting for this next story. The coronavirus pandemic is hitting the city of New Orleans hard, like so many other places. All major concerts closed there, theaters and streets that are normally buzzing with sounds and street performers and funk and soul, no longer. This next story shows us how some musicians are keeping the old spirit alive. Let's play it out.
Music runs in the blood of New Orleans natives Megan and Brandon Brunius. It moves them to perform even if the stage is just their front porch.
New Orleans, I mean, it just never stops here. The music is always there. The music is always going to be here. There's always going to be music in the hearts of people. And even the people who aren't musicians, they feel music and they want music, and that's why they come here.
I see him tonight, 'cause when I get low, I get high.
No matter how long the quarantine lasts, it's not going to kill the music scene, that people will find a way to express themselves.
Their way now includes using social media to live stream shows twice a week. It's a two-pronged effort to help keep the music scene alive while providing a small stream of income through a virtual tip jar, a new reality that's a far cry from what they're used to.
This is the month that all musicians in New Orleans make all their money to make it through the summer, which the summer, nobody comes to New Orleans during hurricane season, especially when it's 110 in the shade. And so that's 4 or 5 months of no business.
You know, it is a gig-based kind of system for you,
It's a
isn't
gig
it?
economy, definitely.
The sound of Big Sam's Funky Nation, a melting pot of funk, hip-hop, jazz, brass, and grooves, has been a vibrant part of the New Orleans music scene for almost 2 decades. Now forced into online gigs streaming from the driveway of Sam Williams' house.
It's great because the people are very receptive, they love it. It's just weird for us because we don't have the interaction with them,
Yeah.
We got to keep the music going and keep everybody's spirits lifted and, keep it popping. Without that, the city just dies. So we got to keep it going.
Optimism aside, he knows what's at stake.
How long can you sustain like this?
Not long at all. Maybe another month or two, So we just got to hang in there and hope that we overcome all of this,
Williams' resilience is emblematic of a city that's hit rock bottom before.
We've been through a lot of things. Hurricane Katrina, you can't keep us down.
A sentiment echoed by jazz clarinetist Tim Laughlin. Every day, he performs for 30 minutes on his balcony in the French Quarter.
We're making something very basic into something really good.
Do you feel like this is what people need right now?
Yeah, somebody once said listening to a recording is like looking at a picture of food. But when you hear live music, real musicians in front of you, it has a totally different energy.
A distinct energy, no matter where you're listening from. Mireya Villarreal, New Orleans.
So cool.
Yeah, and I love all the backyard performances our local musicians are doing too.
We had Henry Capono on last week doing his concert online, and that idea of a virtual tip jar, I like that too.
Yep.
Good way to keep the music going.
For sure.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Wednesday. We have some press conferences coming up in just about 35 minutes. Mayor Caldwell, we believe, will be giving some sort of update. We'll bring you any developments on that on our H&N digital platforms. We'll try to stream it to you live as well. Then coming up later this afternoon,